Did you hear that?
Heard it.
Beautiful. Finally, a little late, but we had some technical difficulties, but that's all right. We overcame them. And so, we got about a good 20 minutes left to do this. So here I am, guys, with Dan, Elia, and if you people are from Nutley and Belleville, he's no stranger to the area. He's been on with me before. We've had a couple of, I think we maybe did one or two of these, right? One or two of these before the book and after the book, but we'll talk about the book in a minute.
Definitely.
So, for you people who don't know who Dan Elia is, Dan, who are you?
I like to consider myself the jack of all trades. Essentially, I'm an educator. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a life coach. I get into some real estate investing. I really like to do a little bit of everything. Recently, over the past couple of years, I published a book, so I'm in that author category. And just trying to. I'm involved locally, with a nonprofit organization trying to help the town called Better Belleville, and really just trying to help people from all different angles and all different shapes, sizes, and just everything in between. So that's why
You're a family guy too, right? You're a family guy.
Absolutely a family guy, no question about it. I have 2 boys, and I got another one coming in July, so that'll be 3 boys by July.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So I'm going to go back. So you said you're an educator. What type of educator are you?
So I am currently, I was in school for 15 years, and I'm in the high school now in Essex County. So I do special education and science.
Oh, so you're a special education teacher.
Yes.
Okay. That's an additional certification, right?
That's an additional certification, yes.
Why did I think gym?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have a pretty good physique, and I've been into sports and stuff like that. So people always kind of look at me and they say, "Oh, you're a gym teacher?" I said, "No, I'm a special education." So
And your brother, who I just ran into the other day, I told him to say hello. He probably didn't even know who I was, but he was Mama Victoria's at the Nutley Family Services luncheon, and he looks like you, but like a little heavier version of you.
Yes, my brother is on. He just recently got on the Nutley Board of Education,
Right,
and he's an administrator in Belleville as well.
is he your older brother?
Older.
Older brother. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you guys kind of are in. You have he's into education. You're into education. He seems like you guys kind of run along the same pattern there.
Yeah.
What you grew up in Belleville and you went to Belleville High, right?
Yes.
What got you into, or what got you interested in education?
It was an interesting thing because I didn't like school growing up. Teachers didn't really know how to teach me. They didn't. So I kind of really had to learn, with the help of my parents, learn how to teach myself. So as school kind of went on, I really learned how to teach because I got so good at teaching myself, and I wanted to get into education because I wanted to be able to help students that were like me, who maybe, needed that additional help. And just found school kind of difficult because it's not a one size fits all. And because everybody comes in different learning styles and different techniques and strategies that work best for them. And I learned that. So that's really what made me kind of motivated to get into special education, specifically special education, because I know, and I work with so many students who excel in so many different areas, but then there's also a deficiency in certain areas, and it's being able to kind of bridge that gap, where they may think that they're not intelligent because there's a disconnection with maybe their language or their processing or whatever the case may be. And that's what I found that fascinating. And, the special education, it's understanding about the amount of disabilities and to be able to kind of give those students the proper education that they really deserve. So that's what got me into education, because I myself did not benefit as well from school as I should have. So
And when we say special education, we're talking about some kids who have learning disabilities or on the autistic spectrum.
um, so
What happened there?
there's a bell.
Oh,
So um, it's interesting because I've taught everything across the board. Something as very basic as like, dyslexia to something as, as vast as, severely autistic. So everything in between. I've worked with all different populations, different ages. Like I said, different disabilities. Some have several disabilities, one top another. I've taught students with physical disabilities, with mental disabilities, all different. So it's a huge range. When I say special education, there's a gigantic umbrella that literally that whole population goes under. And even a lot of people don't realize this, but students that are very intelligent, that is still a form of special education as well, because you're not teaching to the general education student, because you have to kind of cater the lessons and the information to a higher aptitude level. So it's a broad range.
yeah, I had an experience like that with myself when I was in grammar school. I had a problem with comprehension.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the resources, or I think the education that they had today. They just kind of put you in a different class.
Yeah.
So it was like you were in 8-1, 8-2, 8-3, 8-4, and that's how they categorize you. So they put me in 8-4 because my
Yeah.
grade was lower and so on. So that's kind of what they called the I don't know if they didn't call it special education. They called it remedial. That's what
Yes, remedial. Yeah, there's a term they used to use. We don't really use that
yeah, they
anymore.
called it remedial because I had a problem. It wasn't so much, it was more comprehension where I could read something and it wouldn't stick, right?
Yeah.
So that was part of the problem. And until I found like a pathway that was art. And then when they figured it out, they said, well, let's make this his primary focus. Everything else kind of got pulled along by it,
Sure.
which was
Absolutely.
kind of interesting. So they found the pathway, then things started to stick,
Yes.
Um, but I'm at that age now where we don't care if it sticks or not. But I think it's very important that the whole special education, because it really should be called custom education.
Oh,
Because
100%.
when you think about it, I mean, the classes today that I was taught back in the 70s and 80s, you know, may not be applicable to today, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that the school system gets too bogged down with the legalities and the state and all the other nonsense rather than focusing on what is more important, which is training the kid. I think somebody like you teachers and instructors in your position that have a passion for education, you guys get pulled. You
Yeah.
get pulled between administration, you get pulled between state and everything else. Oh, sorry. And your job, you want to teach these kids. And I've seen a lot of teachers at the end of their tenure, their career, they're just burnt out,
Yeah.
they're just burnt out. But my education, I was very fortunate to have a guidance counselor and teachers that really cared to make sure that, hey, we got to fix this now. Because
Yeah.
I think from like fifth grade to like maybe ninth grade, I was a horrible student. I was barely
Yeah.
getting by the skin of my teeth,
Yeah. I mean, because at that point, what happens, you just kind of, you don't see the point, right? And you haven't, you're just kind of there. You're always being told what to do. You're not necessarily enjoying where you're at. So you become defiant, you act out, and it's not that you're not capable. It's just that you're just in the wrong environment, doing the wrong task, we'll say. And I think that's a big part of it. What's interesting, and this is a good segue. I don't know where you were going to take this, but that actually took me into my life coaching. So a lot of the skills over the
Let's talk
years.
about that. So that's how
Yeah.
you got into life coaching.
Yeah.
Let's talk
So
about
a lot of my skills over the years, as I went for my master's, I did everything online at Walden University. I went for teacher leadership, and as I was taking the courses, I learned a lot about leadership and how to be able to kind of get people to do things right, and how to motivate students, and really getting into that, and that opened up a really kind of a path for me to get more interested in psychology and human behavior, and how to be able to get people to kind of find fulfillment or find a purpose where they feel like they just kind of didn't have one. And that got me into the life coaching. So as I was life coaching, I was learning all these skills and I was applying them into the classroom. And then, what I was able to use, I found a lot of techniques and strategies that were extremely useful. I saw, students who were completely unmotivated, finding a purpose, coming excited to school, engaging more in lessons, doing their work, finding a sense of fulfillment, and then literally just kind of straightening themselves out. So I always say a lot of times you can't really fix a problem until you actually know what the problem is, right? And I was able to see the strengths of these students and see some of the issues they were dealing with, and to be able to kind of bridge those gaps. And with that, you saw just a huge, change in not only performance, but their behavior and their confidence and everything that kind of goes with it. And I said, well, I need to be able to kind of take this to a grander level. So I got into more coaching, and then I started doing some motivational speaking. And then I was, invited to do, some lectures and variety of workshops and things like that. And I said, this is really cool and this is exciting. And people are actually really starting to, respond positively to this, which is another segue into, well, my book.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. So I mean, how do I, be able to reach a grander audience? Because, if I'm just focusing on students and then a few clients that I'm picking up here and there, it's not big enough. I can go online, I can kind of do Facebook Live, I can do Instagram, I can do things like that. But again, how am I going to be able to get everything I know, all this knowledge, my 3.5 decades at the time of knowledge and information, everything that I've learned from masters on, from undergraduate on, how do I apply this? Well, I put it into a book. And
all right, now let's stop right there, because so this led you to the book. So I want to understand, you're sitting here, you said to yourself, I can publish this book, but then there's the daunting task of learning how to publish a book, right? Yeah. So take me to that decision right there. The process of actually getting all that knowledge transposed to paper. All right, that's easy. You could write it on your computer. Yeah. Okay, but when Dan says, okay, now what the hell do I do with it now? Yeah. What's the next step?
So it kind of really started off by saying, I know that I need to write a book. Now, what is the book about? I don't know exactly. What's the title? No clue. And literally in the beginning of the writing to where it actually was the end result, completely different book. I mean, at first I started talking about like gut health and the link of like having a good diet, how that affects your performance. And I was like, okay, well, that's like a chapter. I mean, I could write more, but like, let me try to start infusing other things that I learned, personal experiences. And before you know it, it evolved into 22 chapters. And the final product was 122 pages, but I think at one point it was probably about 300. And I said, all right, 300 is too much. I wanted it to be something that people would actually be able to start and finish. Like a lot of people, especially if you're not readers, then, if you're not a strong reader, then you may start a book, but you're not going to finish it. And I wanted people to intentionally finish that book. So then I really started just trimming and cutting and trimming, and I stopped. And there was points where I did want to quit. And I said, I don't understand what I'm doing. I don't even know if anybody's going to want to read this. Like, is this good information? Is this bad information? So I shopped it out there to a couple personal friends and family members. And I said, hey, would you like to read a chapter? And they did. And they gave me some feedback. Okay. So then it started evolving a little bit more. And then I put it off, because other things just were kind of happening in life. And, I think my son was born, and that took a little time, to kind of get used to being a dad. And so I put it on, the back burner. And then I remember kind of having a conversation with my wife and saying, I need to finish this. Like I have to, there's this calling that I have, that because I'm letting people down potentially if they, if I never publish this, if this never.
You hit on something a minute ago.
Yeah.
And I learned this pretty recently. I work with I have a business coach that I've been working with for 2 years.
Sure.
And he's more of he's like my business psychologist.
Okay.
He'll listen to all my problems. He'll listen, but then we go through different things. uh, you know, when we talk about gut health,
Mhm.
psychology, frame of mind, mindset, people will say, well, what the hell does it have to do with me and my career? Has a lot to do with you and your career.
Absolutely.
That's your foundation of your house.
Yeah.
Because if you think you're going to go into a high caliber career or any career, and you're going to have, massive health issues and not pay attention to the relationships that matter and not have your mindset, focused in a way. And we've talked about this in the past, me and you, where
Sure.
focus on the things you can control, not what
Yes.
you control. Because I
Yes.
find myself, if I start watching the news for like a day or two, I start to go frantic. I
Of course.
can't I can't worry about the war in Ukraine. I can't solve the fiscal deficits of our country. I can't worry about what politician is going to do this or what country is going to try and nuke us or what, because when you start going down that rabbit hole, and I
Oh
see a,
yeah.
I see a lot of people doing that,
Sure.
and a large majority of people doing it. And I
Yeah.
think people take that and they internalize it and they act out on it. Because look, and social media is great for this. I'm big on social media, but some days I have to bite my tongue because of some of the comments people make about things. And you see,
Yes. I,
uh,
I I remember recently reading one of the statuses that you put, and you said, whether I say red or blue, there's going to be a fight.
it's gonna be a fight.
But Matt, let me touch on this, and this is extremely important.
Mhm.
As somebody who I consider myself an optimist realist, and of course I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic. But the most important thing I like to focus on, right, is me, right? So it's always improving myself, all right? And while I'm improving myself, everyone around me will benefit, right? So if I'm a better father, I mean, if I'm more structured and I'm in a good headspace and mentally and emotionally and physically, my family's going to benefit from that, right? So I think the hardest part for a lot of people, and this is really what the book is about, it's getting people to actually invest in themselves. It's getting people to say, shut off the news, right? Getting people to just get all that white noise and background noise and everything out and focus on themselves. And for some people, the scariest thing, right, is silence. And the hardest thing is to look themselves in the mirror and just be with themselves and with their thoughts. They don't want to be. Because when you're in that moment, you open up that spigot, that floodgate, right? Then everything starts coming in and you start having more, well, ownership and responsibility for your actions, right? And that I think is a path, I think it's a great path to be on, but a lot of people are just so scared because, again, as the book, it's invest in yourself. It's a guide to releasing your full potential, right? Some people will never even understand what their full potential is because they're just so bogged down by life and everything, right? And all these things and noise and media and, like you said, wars and this person and this politician, and they just, sports teams and everything that just like literally consumes their time from the moment they wake up to the time they go to bed, where they don't take any time to actually self-reflect and any time to examine themselves and say, well, what can I be doing better about myself? Instead, it's pointing fingers. And it's
Yeah,
a lot easier,
I was gonna say that we're very
so
reactive.
much easier to point fingers rather than actually say,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm the one. You know what I mean? And and
yeah,
and I think we have a very reactive society. And as I've been going on this self-improvement path now for probably a good, I don't know, 10 years, but seriously, maybe the last 6 years,
yeah,
where self-improvement, I believe, is one of the best investments that you can make.
absolutely.
And I'm a big fan of like Jim Rohn and Nightingale and Tony Robbins and all that. I know some people think it's hoopla and it doesn't matter, but that's okay. You don't have to.
Sure.
It's whatever you want to make of it. When you realize that your thoughts have more control over your life than you think, then you start to understand a little better. You know, I said this to somebody yesterday. I said, when you don't know what to do, the best thing to do is do nothing,
Yeah.
and silence your mind for a bit. I do that every morning. First thing I do
Yeah.
when I wake up. Silence your mind, and self-reflection is a really good thing. There's that group, or there are people in society are just like, I used to be a very, very reactive guy when I was younger because I wasn't taught. I wasn't
Sure.
taught.
I mean, at the time, and that's where we get into the psychology and the human behavior. It's understanding, right? Like something may happen to you, but you have control over how you respond to it, right? And but you don't know that until, well, a little more maturity, right? Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that actually is right, controls like these erratic behaviors and these like immediate responses. It's the one that says, "Hey, I need to pause. I need to calm down." Right? This is not the appropriate reaction, right? I can't just yell at everybody and become this this ball of disaster. I need to say, this happened to me, right? Take a moment, pause, and as maturity kind of comes in and you understand how to navigate through these challenges, we'll call them, or these obstacles, um, that's really where wisdom comes from, essentially, right? If you've never encountered anything, if you've never gone through adversity, you don't have that wisdom. You just don't, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You gotta break down the breakthrough. That's what
yes.
it comes down to. And I heard a stat the other day about the mind, the frontal cortex, the one that does reasons and
Yeah.
think, doesn't fully evolve to the age of 25 years old.
Yes.
That I found fascinating.
Yep.
Now I know
So,
why when I was 19 and 21, I did stupid things.
sure.
And it's funny because as you get older, you do become wiser.
Yeah.
There's definitely a correlation there. And if you're not getting wiser as you're getting older, you're stagnant. And that's a
Yes.
place to be.
Yes.
Place to be. Because I know some people that I've known for years are still in that same mindset they were 30 years ago. And I stay away from people that have that stunted mindset. They're not of a growth mindset. You,
Yes.
you ever
Yes.
you ever you ever run into the people where you want to do something like you say, "Hey, I want to build a pizza oven in my backyard." Okay, I just pulled that out of thin air because I'm thinking of pizza. So I want to build a pizza oven in my backyard. You'll tell one of your friends, "Hey, I want to do that," and he'll turn around and say, "You can't do that."
Yep.
Well, why? You never tried it. Just because you never tried it and didn't do it? Or, and I get this all the time in my industry, is the person that's buying a home and they're getting advice from their uncle that never bought a home before.
Of course.
Right?
Because so there's the man in the arena, and this was Teddy Roosevelt, the man in the arena, and it's this really good kind of poem, this story about how the spectators, the people that are in the audience who've never been in the actual arena, are the ones that are going to put you down. They're going to criticize you. They're going to do everything. But until you are actually in that arena, you are the person who's doing it. You're not going to really understand. So there's always going to be critics, no matter what you do, and those people are essentially projecting their insecurities, right, of their inadequate, skills, we'll say, that they lack, and they're trying to, protrude it or put it on you and say, you can't do that. Well, as a matter of fact, I can, and I will. Thank you for your input, but I'll see you on the other side when I do get there.
Did anybody ever say to you, "You can't publish a book"?
Well, there's been plenty of things that, anything that I've ever set out to do, I always had people tell me, you can't do that. And I say, watch me. I mean, literally that's exactly what it was. You're not going to be able to do that. I will.
Watch me.
You
Yeah.
know, it will take time, sure, but time's going to pass anyway. So
I heard something funny yesterday. I forgot who was saying it, but they said, those people that go around and tell everybody their problems? Well, here's the truth about that. 80% don't give a shit, and the other 20 is happy you're having problems.
of course, it's so true.
So, when you go out there like, "Oh, my dog died. I got a flat tire. I'm having money problems." The honest truth is nobody really cares. And that's why when you meet new people and you go to meet them, and I'm not being negative about it, but I just know the fact, when they say, "Hey, how you doing?" And my answer is, do you really want to know?
Yeah.
Or do you just want, that's why everybody just says, "Okay, fine."
It's interesting that you bring that up, though, Matt, because I mean, I've definitely achieved a lot of successes in my life, and in some ways, I don't know, I'm torn, because do I talk about my accomplishments? or no? Or do I keep them to myself? Because am I more concerned with people being a hater, quote unquote, because I have accomplished things and they haven't? Does
Join
it
the
seem
club,
like,
brother.
does it seem like I'm boasting, or I'm, trying to, go around, telling everybody as if I'm bragging? I mean, I'm not bragging. It's a general conversation. So sometimes when you kind of talk about these things, I consider myself a humble person. I don't go around doing that. I do not think I'm better than anyone. The only one person that I want to be better
Is
than is
yourself.
my person who I was yesterday. You know what I mean? It's every day I can be better than me every day. Then that's all I focus on. I don't
Yep.
need to be better than anybody else. So I think that it is important, because when people do ask you, there is that kind of, that moment where I pause and I'm like, do I tell you something? Do I not tell you something? Are you going to try to use it against me? Are you going to be spiteful because of it? Are you genuinely going to be like proud of me, or is it going to be fake? And I think at the end of the day, I don't really care. I don't care,
On that note, I have a friend of mine who's wildly successful in a different area of New Jersey as a realtor as well. Does a lot of luxury, multi-million-dollar TV stars, basketball, sports stars. And I witnessed something one day, and I went and met him for lunch. He was doing an open house, a broker's open, and I went there. And while he was there, an agent walked in and really gave him like a really bad attitude and was very curt with him, and kind of like spun around and walked the other way. And I just looked at him. I said, how do you deal with this? He's like, you know what? He goes, it used to bother me all the time, but I was told by somebody even more successful than what I have, more successful than me, that if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong.
It's true.
Because it's not that they hate you. And if they're going behind your back and they're talking about you and saying bad things about you, it's not really about you.
Yeah.
It's about the attention they get while they're talking about you. That's what it's about.
Sure. Absolutely.
Right. And if
Yeah.
you let it die, it goes away.
Yeah.
And I'm in an industry where people can get very catty.
Sure.
And I've had local agents say things about me, put it on social media, used to get me upset. Now I invite it.
Yeah.
Because if I'm inviting it, it's just more energy for me. And that's a
Sure.
way to look at it. But it's like, hey, yeah, that's it. Go out there and keep saying bad things about me. That's okay. That's okay. Because
Negative attention is still attention.
one day you're either gonna be coming to me for something, or you're gonna work for me.
That's true.
And it's interesting. And one day when we sit down, I'll talk to you about that. But and that's the same thing with failure. Like, you relish your failures, because I know every three failures is a success.
Sure.
So every failure is a step closer to success.
Yes.
Think about that's powerful.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, at the end of the day, I look at it as, I don't like to use the word failure. I look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow. So it's failure is just, it's just a, like a pumped up version of a mistake. That's really what it is. We make mistakes all the time, constantly. That's how we learn. And if I put a label on it like failure, well, then that's making it like that's final. Like it's
That's a
putting
good
kind of
point.
like,
It's a learning, it's a teachable moment or a learning moment. And no such
yes,
thing as failure, is only lessons.
exactly. So that's how I kind of really look at it, well, it's not failure. It's just a mistake that I'm learning from. And that's it.
It's
Um,
it's funny. I had a client, and I'm going to get to your book in a minute, because I know we're running, but we could talk
sure.
forever. But I
Sure.
had a client of mine who, well, I don't know if I want to get into that, but I shouldn't. I don't even know how to approach this one. Anyhow, sometimes I run into difficult clients all the time. It all depends, because the business I'm in, it's very emotional, and I don't think people understand that.
Oh, no, it is. It is.
Real estate is 99% emotion.
Absolutely.
My coach telling me months ago, like, there's when you're getting clients, there's red flags. If you see those red flags, probably not worth doing it, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure you've run down that road too, but you go against your better judgment because you want to do something. And, I think intuition is underrated.
Oh yeah, I agree.
That's where
You
I'm
go with
going
your
with that. Please elaborate more on that one. But let's talk about the book. So name of the book again?
So it's called Invest in Yourself. It's the value of releasing your full potential. It is available on Amazon, and today actually is a 3-year anniversary when it was first published.
That's
So
right.
because of that, between now and March 1st, right, I'm doing a 50% discount. So the book is originally $19.99, $10, call it even. So they can find it, if anybody is interested. I've already been putting it out there, but over the next couple of days, I guess the next, 8 days or so, they're going to be able to get my book for half the price.
Okay, and they can get that on Amazon. If they search your name, Dan Delia.
Yeah, they can type in Dan Delia. They can type in Invest in Yourself. Both of them will pop up. It's accessible. I think there's a paperback and there's a Kindle version. Paperback, I'm doing the 50%. Kindle might even be free today. I don't know. So either way, I'm giving out, the deals because there has been so much support. I've had so much positive feedback. I've had people literally change their entire lives. And this is not really kind of what I was expecting to happen. I was just kind of like, oh, maybe I can help a few people through rough times or something like that. But I've actually had people say, like, you have changed my entire life. Like I was, going down this really bad road and, I read your book and, now I've got this going on and this going on. And I've, taken a vow of silence. There's a lot of crazy, interesting things that have happened and things that I had not even expected. So, that's my gift to say, hey, listen, this is, thank you for everybody who has supported me, the whole journey from at this point. Honestly, it's been about 8 years from me actually sitting down, writing the book to now, since it's been published. It's about an 8-year journey, from start to finish. And this is my way of saying, thank you, here you go. So
Cool.
Definitely an exciting thing. I'm going to do a little disclaimer. I am actually in the process of writing my second book.
Oh, wow.
Now this one's a little different. This one is geared more towards educators and parents. And what it is, it's talking about the things that a parent or a teacher can do to be able to help their student or child, to be able to help them be more successful in life that they're not getting in the public education.
Oh,
So this is
important. That's important.
now this is not a knock against public education, because there's a lot of obstacles and there's a lot of situations where public education it's tied, legals, like all these, you got the core curriculum, content standards. There's so many things coming from the state level with so much politics thrown into it. And with that being said, this book is going to kind of really empower and tell them all the things that a student should have basically by the time they graduate high school, so that they can move on to the next level, whatever that may be.
That's great.
So,
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I have 3 questions for you before we log off.
Go for it.
It's going to be, okay, Instagram or Facebook?
Facebook.
Book or podcast?
Book.
Book. You like to read a book? Okay.
I do.
All right, last one. Pizza or cheeseburger?
Pizza.
Good one.
Good questions. Pretty easy. Those are nice lobs.
Well, Dan, I want to thank you for coming on here. It was good because we could talk forever. We're like at 30 minutes already, maybe more.
We could.
But there's a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff this man could teach you. If you want his book, again, go to Amazon, pick it up. If you can't find it there, just find him on Facebook and shoot him a message. Maybe he'll mail you one.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, Matt, it's true, because I'm willing to, I always like to give away books or sign copies and things like that. So I'm always a message away. That's literally my slogan. I'm always a message away, and I respond to pretty much anybody. So
I know you're on your break here and you're actually at work, and I appreciate you taking the time. But thank you, man. And I'll be talking to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Have a great day.
You got it, buddy. Bye-bye.